Namaskar and welcome to Sansad Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show Perspective, where we bring you detailed analysis of key national and international issues. Today we're going to talk about the bilateral relationship between India and Vietnam. Now, India and Vietnam share a comprehensive strategic partnership since 2016, and defense cooperation is a key pillar of this partnership. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh is on a 3-day official visit to Vietnam, and on Wednesday he held bilateral talks with his Vietnamese counterpart. Wide-ranging discussions were held between both sides on effective and practical initiatives to further expand bilateral defense engagements and regional and global issues as well. In fact, the two defense ministers also signed the joint vision statement on India-Vietnam defense partnership towards 2030, which will significantly enhance the scope and scale of existing defense cooperation between both the countries. An MOU on mutual logistics support was also signed, and both sides also agreed for early finalization of defense line of credit worth almost $500 million extended to Vietnam. Vietnam is an important partner for India's Act East policy and the Indo-Pacific vision as well. Both countries also share a rich history of civilization and cultural linkages spanning over almost 2,000 years. In today's episode, we will talk about all aspects of this bilateral relationship and try and analyze various features there. And for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of experts. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with Pramitpal Chaudhary is joining us. He is the Foreign Affairs Editor of Hindustan Times. We also have with us former Ambassador Jitendranath Mishra joining us. And we also have a guest from Vietnam. Dr. Pham Quang is joining us. He is the Director General of Vietnam Institute for Indian and Southwest Asian Studies in Hanoi. Welcome, all of you gentlemen, to Sansad Television. Let me begin with you, Ambassador Mishra, and let's start by taking a bit of a stock of how the relationships have been between India and Vietnam, the bilateral relation so long, and what are the key areas where the focus is right now?
Bilaterally, the political relationship has always been stable and outstanding ever since the 1950s. We all know that. In terms of economics, perhaps underwhelming because the potential has not been realized. In terms of culture, perhaps even less than economic. But it's a very stable relationship based on a high degree of genuine mutual trust and a great amount of complementarity in our interests. Ultimately, it's strategic interests that count, and therefore I would say that because they are congruent, the relationship is on a very solid foundation.
Okay. Let's also understand the Vietnamese point of view. Dr. Kong is here with us. Dr. Kong, when we look at this relation from Vietnam's angle, where do both the nations stand, and how would you analyze this relation which has been ongoing for quite a very long time now? 50 years of diplomatic relationship, but cultural and civilizational linkages span almost 2,000 years.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to appear on the television of India. We know that this year Vietnam and India have 50th anniversary of India-Vietnam diplomatic relation. I think that both countries now maintain the level of comprehensive strategic partnership. India is one of the three countries have maintained it very important relation of this level behind the Russia and China. And we know that since July 2006, the two countries have upgraded to strategic partnership. And then in September 2016, two sides have agreed to comprehensive strategic partnership. So we have seen many strategic interests from both countries. And so far, I think that Vietnam is a key position in the Act East policy of India is very important one. In the perception of Vietnam, I think that India is a very good friend, very close, and strategic partnership is very important partner of Vietnam so far. In December 2020, two countries have worked out the joint vision, Vietnam-India joint vision, a statement for peace, prosperity, and people. And so far, in these years, we have a anniversary of 50 years diplomatic relations. So we have seen many strained relationships And so far, at this point, at the moment, we also see the visit of India Minister of Defense visit to Vietnam, and two sides also have worked out the joint statement and vision for defense partnership between Vietnam and India through the 2013, and also the memorandum of understanding on mutual logistics support between the two defense ministers. I think that India is a very important one, and we can see more further development of bilateral relationship in the coming time.
Okay. So there's a lot more to come there, as Dr. Kong is pointing out. Pramit, I'd like to bring you in here from various aspects. If we look at this particular relationship, not only the strategic one, and that's a very important one and a crucial one there as well, but also the economic aspect of this relationship, as Ambassador Mishra was pointing out.
So the economic relationship, to some degree, Vietnam and India are actually competitors, in the sense that what we're seeing right now across the Southeast Asia, South Asia area is the movement of manufacturing, foreign manufacturing investment out of China, partly because of higher wage costs, partly because of geopolitical risks. So you're seeing, especially in the field of electronics, for example, you're seeing companies like Samsung, Apple move, or at least diversify their manufacturing base out of China. Vietnam, Indonesia, India, even Bangladesh to some degree are all vying, if you wish, for that investment for obvious reasons. Vietnam, in many ways, is coming out to be the primary winner of this shift right now. Samsung, in particular, has shifted more of its manufacturing base to Vietnam than it has, for example, to India. Apple, I think, is sort of, should we say, it's China +2 strategy, which is both India and Vietnam. And so we're seeing a lot of investment into Vietnam as a consequence. Some of that investment India has been trying to get as well. So there's a degree of competition, if you wish, for that investment. It's a friendly competition, and it's based on how well each country is able to sell itself, if you wish, to these manufacturers. But given the new PLI scheme, the production-linked incentive schemes that India has introduced, one of the key reasons those have been introduced is basically to match our competitiveness with that of Vietnam, especially in the field of electronics. So we see that supply chain structure developing. I think India's advantage, however, is in services, especially in information technology, software, financial services. We remain, I think I would argue, ahead of Vietnam, even falling behind on the other side. There is at present, though, because of this competition, not much happening between India and Vietnam. I don't think Indian FDI to Vietnam is more than $1 or $2 billion. Vietnamese FDI into India, I think, is barely a few $100 million. So we're seeing the two countries, if we wish, joining the global supply chain, but not joining each other on that basis.
Okay. Two aspects here, Mr. Mishra, and let's look deeper into them. You referred to both of them in your first response as well. Pramit has elaborated on one part, that is the economic one, and the other is a strategic one. Of course, when we look at India's Act East policy or the Indo-Pacific vision as well, and the defense minister's visit. But let's first start with the economic part. And you also pointed out that, there seems to be a lot more room there for both the countries.
Yes, as Pramit said, there is a structural issue of competition between the two countries. I will just give some figures. India is not a great trading partner of Vietnam. It's number 5, but Vietnam is only the 23rd trading partner of India. Trade was $14.14 billion in the year 2021-22, according to India's Commerce Ministry figures. And investment, as Pramit said, was $1.9 billion from India. Now, where does it position India in Vietnam's scheme of things from the economic point of view? I'm afraid not very high. Look at China, for example. In the year 2020, just to compare, trade with China was $133 billion. Vietnam's trade, which is greater than China-India trade today. And it was 12 times higher than Vietnam's trade with India. And Chinese investment in the month of October 2020 alone was a staggering 2.4 billion US dollars, which was a real high. Ours is cumulative 1.9 billion US dollars. Now, the structural problems are there. One of the problems is that Indian companies, I worked in Vietnam, they do not understand the Vietnamese market and the Vietnamese mindset. There is a cultural issue out there, and that is a bigger issue as far as Vietnamese companies wanting to do business, and they have only an investment of a few $100 million, as we heard. They have even a larger cultural problem. And I will come to culture later, but suffice it to say that things are still improving because SR has invested 300 million US dollars with the Italian company ENI in hydrocarbons, and Tata Power $2.2 billion in their power plant, and Tata Coffee has invested and opened a coffee factory for with an investment of $20 million. These are very recent trends. So India is becoming more adventurous, but I think there is a long way to go. And Vietnam says, please come and please come to our pharmaceutical industry and invest. India has great strength there, and 53% of Vietnam's pharmaceutical consumption is domestically manufactured. So there's a great scope. They keep exhorting India to come and invest. But India has problems of market access, as we know about, for example, services. That is the bone of contention, not just with Vietnam, but with ASEAN as a whole. And there is a feeling in India that India should not have done the services agreement without a satisfactory FTA in trade in merchandise goods. So that's part of a larger structural problem. But I would say that there is great scope for improvement. It's really underwhelming.
Okay. Let's also understand from Dr. Kong here. Dr. Kong, how do we bridge this gap when we're talking about the economic aspect of this bilateral relationship between India and Vietnam? And as both the other panelists are pointing out, there seems to be a lot of opportunities and a lot of avenues there, which can help both the nations bridge this gap vis-a-vis the economic part of the relation.
Yes, Dr. Jitendra Misa has pointed out, and also the Prime Minister is also pointed out, I think that the problem between the trade between the two countries, I think that the capacity, the connectivity between the two economies. You see that the structure of Vietnam economy and also the structure, economic structure of India is similar. So it's quite difficult for the country to supplement for each other. For example, when Vietnam doing business with the US, I think that Vietnam need more high tech, more investment from the US. And for the China, Vietnam also working closely with the China in the trade and investment, because Vietnam need more input of raw material from China. So that is problem between the India and Vietnam for the trade, because you see that so far Vietnam is right about 15, the largest trading partner of India, and for India is also the 10th largest trading partner. So the trade turnover is not high comparing with the US and China. So the more important thing that we have to improve the connectivity between the two countries. At the same time, we also have to find out which one solution. I think the policy maker is contribute to this one. We both sides have to increase dialogue, talking about the trade barrier. You know that the Vietnamese port find out is very difficult to accept to the India markets. Because the trade barrier and something restriction on the two sides, even though the India and ASEAN have a size free trade area agreement, but also not many ASEAN exports easily come to the India. And at the same time, the investment, I think that so far we have seen more increase in investment flow from India to Vietnam. But on the side of Vietnam, I think that the Vietnam should also improve environment for the businessmen, foreign businessmen, and also from India, so we can attract more big corporations from India come to Vietnam.
Indeed.
And yeah, and at the same time, we also have increased the connect the people to people.
Okay.
Dialogue connecting so many people, two sides can understand its culture and habits of businessmen between both sides.
Okay, indeed, strengthening this relationship is a two-way street. Both sides will have to take those measures, connectivity being one, and perhaps, a bit more focus on the northeastern region of India in terms of improving infrastructure. The recent projects out there might go a long way in taking care of that aspect. Now, let's shift focus towards the strategic aspect of this relationship. Since the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh is already in Vietnam. Permit, I'll begin with you. That there's a joint vision statement for defense cooperation towards 2030, which has been signed. Incidentally, the defense cooperation has been a cornerstone of this bilateral relationship for quite some time, and it needs to be for a longer period in the future as well.
That's correct. I mean, going back to roughly 1992, India and Vietnam, if you wish, discovered each other on a strategic basis. And we have seen that increase in large part because of mutual concerns about China. Vietnam is at the forefront of the Southeast Asian countries' territorial dispute with China over the South China Sea. Vietnam, in many ways, has been the most active country in terms of trying to push back the Chinese on that issue. And we've, to some degree, helped as much as we can. It's a little too far away for our naval capacity at present, but we do send warships to visit Vietnam. The ONGC Videsh Limited, the Indian state-owned oil company, has exploration rights in the South China Sea, which haven't produced any oil, but what they do is they effectively have India therefore support Vietnamese territorial claims in the South China Sea. China has protested the exploration by OVL in those areas. And so now with this new defense agreement, we'll see more regular visits, if you wish, by both the navies and the militaries of both countries. We now have the right to, Indian warships can now dock in, I believe, almost every major Vietnamese port. And so as India's naval capacity slowly moves into at least the areas beyond the Malacca Straits, Vietnam would be a crucial element of that.
Okay.
We have looked at the possibility, so far unsuccessfully, of selling some Indian weapons and arms to Vietnam. We've been recently successful in selling them to Philippines, for example. And we have been exploring the possibility of selling some of our things like the Tejas fighter or the BrahMos cruise missile to Vietnam as well. So on the strategic side, I think there's a great degree of consonance. The problem that we will face in the future is that as India moves closer to the Quad, the question will be, where does a country like Vietnam fit in to this larger geopolitical structure that the Quad is developing? Okay. Because as now South Korea, for example, has requested to join the Quad, and other countries have asked to join different parts of the Quad, the technology working groups. India, I think, would welcome, or some of the Quad members would welcome the idea of Vietnam at least joining some of the working groups. But at the heart of the Quad is that your economic relationship with China must then also be constrained.
Indeed.
And something that right now I don't think Vietnam is prepared to do.
Okay, that'll be a very important aspect there, and interesting to see how it plays out. But Mr. Mishra, your views there on the strategic side of this relationship, and as Pramit was elaborating upon, it is equally important for both the countries.
Oh, absolutely. As I said in my opening statement, the political, and now I shall add, the strategic part of the relationship has been considerably ahead of the economic and the cultural aspects. I just heard about Quad. I have looked at the statements of the Vietnamese ambassador in India, Ambassador Chow. He made two statements. One was not very supportive of Quad, and later it was somewhat supportive of Quad. But when it comes to the usage of the word Indo-Pacific. Vietnam is very comfortable with that, and they use that, I think, in 2019 for the first time in a joint statement with India. Now, Vietnam is thought to be a Quad Plus partner, but I'm not sure exactly how Vietnam thinks about it. But when it comes to other bilateral aspects, they are constrained by China, and they are also propelled forward by China. It's a great paradox in the relationship. Now, how are they propelled by China? If you talk to Vietnamese, I'll use exact phrases. The relationship with India is quote unquote benign and peaceful, unquote. And with China is forceful and potent. That is, Chinese influence is forceful and potent, and Indian historical influence is benign and peaceful. That says it all. The Vietnamese look at India. If you look at the ISEAS Yusof Ishak Institute poll, I have done the study of that in Singapore. 29%, 30% of Vietnamese have a positive view of India as a factor for peace and security in the world. Only 16% for China. And when it comes to admiring culture, 2.9% admire Chinese culture and 9.3% admire Indian culture. So the public perceptions are far more positive. But how does it translate into the strategic arena? Now, here there is a problem, and this is where the constraint comes in, because Chinese power is so immediate and so present, being an immediate neighbor, whereas India is a benign and a distant friend, that you have to deal with China. The Vietnamese, I would say, are very, even severely pragmatic in their dealings with China as well as India. And that's why we don't see the sale of the BrahMos and the Akash missile. Now, there was in the statement today by the ministers, there was a paragraph on the credit of $500 million US by India, the line of credit.
Defense line of credit, yes.
Exactly. Now, it's a little bit of a spin by governments, and they do that. It's made to look as if it's something, an additionality and something new. It's not. It's been there for a long time. The one thing that has happened, and here India has been able to deliver, is on the patrol boats. And today there was supposed to be a ceremony. It may have concluded by now. We had handed over one in 2020, and and two others were in various stages of completion last year. And now it seems the entire project has been done. Now, here is an example of India actually delivering on promises. But BrahMos, Akash, I have heard reports in the media that Vietnam has said no to Akash under the $500 million credit. They want to use it for non-military purchases, according to the media. I don't have any
there's no official word on that as of now.
Exactly. Nobody is willing to speak about it, but I am willing to, because this is in the public domain. Now, to me, it seems that there is a great amount of hesitation in Vietnam. I don't think it's because of the capabilities of these platforms. They are proven. BrahMos is an excellent platform. But we've been talking about it since at least 2016, if not earlier. Now, we are doing naval exercises, visits, training, fighter aircraft.
And there's an MOU for logistics support as well, which has been signed in the recent visit. Yes.
Yes, that again is a positive. And, India is the first country with which India has signed such a major logistics agreement, according to the statement of the Indian Ministry of Defense today. So that is definitely an additionality. What it means in practice, I don't know, because we heard from Pal Chaudhry about the South China Sea and the oil and hydrocarbon assets of India. Now, India is there very much for political reasons, because they haven't found much out there.
Indeed.
And it was, we know that. So there is a very strong strategic element, and I don't want to talk too much about it. There is also not just joint manufacturing, but repair and maintenance of fighter jets and imaging, satellite imaging, very important. ISRO's center in Ho Chi Minh City. That's a very significant addition to
Indeed.
Vietnam's capacity and India's capacity also to jointly monitor what is happening in the South China Sea, not just in the economic domain, but even beyond.
Okay, indeed. And those all points which you made do clearly define the significance of a strategic aspect of this relationship as well. Thank you so much, Ambassador Jitendra Mishra, Pramit Pal Chaudhary, and Dr. Kang as well for joining us and sharing your views and insight as our experts were pointing out various aspects of the bilateral relationship between India and Vietnam. A bit more needs to be done when we're talking about the economic aspect of this relationship, but a strategic aspect, and therein the defense cooperation has been a key cornerstone of the relation between both the countries, and a lot of steps being taken out there. Of course, there will always be a room to do more from both sides, and we'll keep a close watch on all the developments here and keep on bringing all the details. Till then, keep watching Sansad Television. Thank you.